won on the alibi issue, and the other issue, the cell tower issue, was reversed. So at the circuit court, we had won the cell tower issue and lost the alibi issue, but it was essentially a flip-flop. The Court of Special Appeals reversed the circuit court on both issues, which, it is what it is. We sort of had a feeling that that might be how this would turn out, and indeed it did. But it's, from what I've read, it's an incredible opinion, and we're thrilled with it. It's been a really long wait, and that's been hard, and it's been stressful. Obviously, not just for us, but for Adnan, who's now been in prison for 19 years, going on 20 years in prison. And our position, and I firmly believe that he is innocent, and that our goal is to get him out of prison. I did have a chance to speak with Adnan. Just by coincidence, he called right before the opinion came out, and then was able to call back afterwards. And he asked me to convey his deep gratitude and thanks from the bottom of his heart for all those people who have supported him this long, and all those people who have believed in him, to his family, to his loved ones, to Rabia and Susan and Colin and everyone who has contributed to this case. I'd also like to mention, lest I forget, this appeal was not only done by us. Hogan and Lovells, the excellent mega firm, contributed in a huge way. They were co-counsel on the appeal, and this success is in a large part attributable to their hard work. So it takes a village, and we've been fighting for so long that it just feels great to get over yet another hurdle. I will point out that since the original post-conviction was denied in 2000, sorry, I shouldn't hit the table or tell me. Since the original post-conviction was denied in 2000, we have won an application for leave to appeal, which got us back into the Court of Special Appeals. We won a remand back down to the circuit court. We won a motion to reopen post-conviction in the circuit court. We won the post-conviction in the circuit court. And now we have just won an opinion from the Court of Special Appeals. So a lot of judges and a lot of proceedings have weighed in on this case, and we like where we are right now. Yeah, questions? How
big of a deal was the Serial podcast to this case?
If you recall, the first time around, we were pursuing the alibi issue, but we were unable to locate our alibi witness. And Serial kind of shook the trees, and that enabled us to get in contact with Asia McClain and bring her to Baltimore for the post-conviction hearing, I think it was 2 years ago. And so in that way, Serial was huge. And Serial has also helped build this groundswell of support for us and for Adnan and for the case, and that has really fueled these efforts and allowed us to keep fighting on the way that we have. And just emotionally, this has gone on for so long now that without all the support of all these people, it would have been very hard to maintain this high level of intensity and keep fighting like we have been able to. So Serial was enormously helpful, and in addition to being incredibly entertaining, it was a great piece of reporting by Sarah Koenig.
What's the immediate impact of this decision on Adnan?
I think the good thing is we won this appeal. It's possible that the state could try to appeal again. We hope that they don't do that. We hope that they will come to the conclusion that this has gone on for long enough, and if anything else is going to happen with this case, let's retry it again. Let's take it to a jury in Baltimore City and let them decide whether Adnan Syed is guilty or innocent. But this process has taken so long already. It's time to make some final resolution, and we hope that the state will see it the same way that we do. But so we don't know what's going to happen with that. The ball is in the state's court in that respect. But we will certainly weigh all options. One of the things that we will consider is an effort to try again to get Adnan out on bail. We haven't made any decisions about that, but that's something we'll sit down and consider in the following days and weeks.
How strong is your chances of getting a full overturn on his conviction now that the opinion has come out?
If we get back in court for a jury trial, we like our chances. We like them a lot. We think we're going to win a trial.
Your opposing counsel is currently running for state's attorney in the city of Baltimore, and does it say anything the way trying a case, to continue going with a case like this, does that say anything to you about the state's attorney's race, about the kind of state's attorney he may be if he were to be elected in the city?
No, I think that the decision of whether to appeal, to attempt to go up to the Court of Appeals, to appeal this again, that's a decision that's going to be made by the Attorney General, Brian Frosh. And I might not see eye to eye with Mr. Frosh on this case, but I do have great respect for, he's not going to make decisions based on publicity or elections or things like that. I do have faith in the process by which he will reach his decision, and I think that decision is his to make.
Do you think that the dissenting opinion will embolden the state to appeal? I mean, is that part of their analysis, do you think, or part of yours?
It could. To be honest with you, I haven't carefully read the dissenting opinion, but statistically, anytime there's a dissent, I think if you were to look at statistics of when cert is granted, I would imagine that it makes it somewhat more probable that the Court of Appeals would accept the case if the state were to pursue that.
Can you talk about a timeline from here on out? I guess you said it would, first be a motion for bail and then potentially a retrial, but how long are we really talking here?
Yeah, so if the state were to try to appeal again, they would have to file their petition for cert in 30 days. And again, it depends on what they do. If they go that route, then that slows things down. Maybe we could be slowed down for another year and a half. I think everyone's gotten a sense of, the longer this case goes on, the bigger the file gets and the more complicated it gets. So that process could take some time. If, on the other hand, the state were to agree with us that the best way to resolve this is in front of a Baltimore City jury, then that process could move forward much faster. The case would then go over to Baltimore City Circuit Court, and I guess it would go into reception court, and there would be a new trial date set, and we would go forward. So if the state does not seek to appeal again, things could move pretty fast.
Have you spoken to Agent McLean today?
I have not, no. No, I haven't.
The cost of this. What is the
The
cost?
cost?
Following the time.
It's look, it's a enormous resources have been poured into this. Not just lawyers, but investigators. There are filing costs. The state has invested heavily in this case. So, You know, I don't think there's any way to calculate it, but litigation is not cheap.
Safe to say millions of dollars, or, I mean, and I'm thinking more for the state, for the city, or whatever.
Yeah, I don't really know how the state is always in a unique position to litigate cases because their personnel gets paid the same. You know, I mean, they're working anyway, so they just handle another case. But I couldn't really give you an estimate for that.
Justin, in your quiet, after you've been working this case for a day, and in your quiet time, what about this case goes to your gut and that makes you continue to fight?
So, I'm sorry, what's the question again?
The question was, you know, you've worked long and hard on this, and, you know, in your quiet time, when you're reflecting on this, what is it in your gut that makes you continue to fight for this case, fight for Adnan?
It's funny. I just had a conversation with him, and you know, I'm not violating any attorney-client privilege, but we were recently thinking back and remembering when we had initially been in for our first post-conviction hearing in 2010, and coming out of the courtroom. You know, I had done a lot of those proceedings before, and I could tell we were going to lose. I could tell the judge back then was going to rule against us, and I was distraught. And we went back, and I had the chance to you know, sit down and talk to Adnan, and our relationship is funny because sometimes he's the one picking me up. But he was joking. He's like, "Man, you were so down and out. Like, I knew that I had to lift you up that time. Remember that?" He got a good chuckle out of that. But so he's been a great client, and his family is incredibly kind and generous, and you know, they give me my space to do my thing. And there's so many other people who have been there supporting these efforts, you know, Rabia and the people at Undisclosed, Colin and Susan. So I've had a ton of support, and that has been instrumental in keeping us going.
Chris, you were just representing Marcus Taylor in the GTTF trial, and without having to comment on your client, hearing some of the testimony about corruption and the ways that policing can go wrong, sitting in there, did that give you any insight if you do have to take this case back to court? Would that color the way you think about the way the justice system works, or about the way that someone like Adnan could be wrongfully imprisoned for such a long time?
Well, I think the GTTF case and this particular case they're very different. And what we've learned through this process here in Adnan Syed's case is, although it's taken an incredibly long time, the wheels of justice are moving in the right direction. And that's sort of where we're focused on now, which is each step, it's tough to get over it, but we're making that progress. So, you know, the issues with the police force is sort of in the back of my mind today. I'm sort of very, very pleased with the ruling and where we are and what we're going to be able to do for Mr. Syed going forward.
What's the time element on the bail motion?
I don't know. Like, we have not made any decisions about it. We're gonna take some time and think it over and see if it's worth a second effort. Talk to our client about it. See what he wants to do, and if you know, if we're going to do it, we'll do it. Probably won't take that long.
Why wouldn't he want to? Why would he not want to do it after being behind bars for so long?
Well, I think he might want to do it. I would agree with you. But again, you know, any step, we always discuss everything with our client, and there's one of the things to keep in mind is that you know, he's been in prison for a very long time, And this is enormously stressful to any defendant. So, when the boat starts to shake and rock, that's stressful. And, sometimes we have to ease into things and we have to move along in a sensitive manner. Okay? All right, thank you all. Thanks for commenting.
Thank you.